Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, someone who asked the real questions like, why doesn't any streaming service have Spice World? Amber Dover, a textbook Virgo, cat mom, pop culture writer, and horror film lover who is here to talk not only about her podcast, So I Was Watching, and her site, Glambergirlblog. That is a tongue twister for me. But also her everyday crush on a supermarket clerk named Chris. Amber, how are you?
I am doing well, and I love that intro. Thank you very much.
The important questions. Why isn't Spice World out there for us to view?
I ask myself that every day, especially with two of the Spice Girls being on the recent season of The Circle. I'm just like, okay, clearly y'all have that connection. So why is it not up yet? It's ridiculous.
Come on. Yeah, I don't even think that's something I own on DVD, which is surprising because I usually try to pick up anything 90s, like at Target in their $5, bin.
And the crazy thing is I do have it on DVD. But I think it's just always something about something that's streaming. Like, it's always more convenient if you can just, turn on your TV versus digging out the DVD player. And I have all my DVDs stored now. So it's like, now I got to take them out of storage. So it would just be so much easier if it was just on streaming, like any of them. I'm not picky. It can be on either service.
I totally agree. I love Frasier and I love The Office, and I have both the box sets, but don't ask me to go get them and put them in. Exactly. I just have them. It's more like they're good decor to have.
Yes.
And in case the world ended and there was some type of electricity, I can still watch them on DVD.
Correct. I feel like DVDs are just backup because they take stuff off streaming all the time. So that's how I feel about Parks and Rec. Like, it was on Netflix, it was on Prime, and then they took it off and it was on Peacock. But still, I needed that box set because if I want to go back to Pawnee at any given day, I need to be able to.
Totally. I totally understand. So let's get to this crush, because when we first connected about this, you said you rarely were attracted to random men you see in real life, which I think may just be a thing that comes with age because we do get set in our ways a little bit in a routine. Yeah. Was that kind of your reasoning?
Yes. I feel like in general, I am a picky person. I haven't had that many boyfriends in life in general, so it takes me a lot to even be attracted to somebody, let alone like somebody. So it caught me off guard because like in everyday life I rarely see men I'm attracted to. I feel like it's just the population of women. I feel there are way more beautiful women that you could just see regularly than you would see, or for me, then I would see an attractive man. Like, I could see beautiful and pretty girls every day, but to see a cute guy, I don't see it.
Girls also do put, no, not stereotypically, but girls do put a little more effort into how they present themselves out in the real world. I often see this at the mall where the girl in the couple is dressed like, she's seeing people and the boy is like, he just rolled out of bed, put on sweatpants, and it's like, let's go. So I get that. That could be it too. Could it also be that it's somewhat easier to fall for celebrities because there's like, you're never going to be really disappointed it didn't work out because, like, you can sort of live in the fantasy with someone like Michael B. Jordan or Chris Hemsworth,
Yeah, but I still feel like, in our industry, you're a podcaster, I am too, I'm a journalist. It's a good opportunity where you could meet or interview a celebrity. Like, I feel like it's not out of the realm. It is kind of like that, movie star, movie fantasy where, okay, I interview somebody, we fall in love, and now you're in that world. But I just feel like I don't think it's out of the realm that I could, meet a Michael B. Jordan. I don't think that's like far-fetched, but I do think it is that in-person interaction, especially since this is a guy that I see pretty often now because it's the grocery store. Like, I frequently go to the grocery store. It's not like out of my realm of a place to go. So it's a good chance I could see this guy at least once a week. So I feel like maybe it is that being able to see him often. I
Mhm.
don't know.
And for this everyday crush, Chris, was it your regular grocery store that you were like going to all the time and he was kind of a new employee you might have spotted one day? Or was this like, oh, I checked out a new grocery store and now I'm going to come here because there's this cute guy?
The funny thing is it's kind of both because this is a grocery store that I often go to. And I particularly went to this one because he works in like the beer and wine section. You know how all the grocery stores now have incorporated that in their stores.
Mm-hmm.
So over the summer, it was this drink that I fell in love with. It was like a 4-pack of sparkling pre-made cocktails. And I got it from this one particular market. And I loved it so much. Every time I went in there, I always checked out, the beer and wine section to see if they had it in stock. So this particular market, and it's a chain grocery store, so it's different locations I can go to. So I go to this one, and I will say it is earlier than I would have went to the market because it was around like the afternoon. Like usually, if I go to the grocery store, it's either right after work. I work overnight, so it's either 7 o'clock in the morning, like right after work, or it could be in the evening around like 8-ish, maybe 7-ish. So this was like mid-afternoon when I went to this grocery store. And I feel like I don't know where he showed up. Maybe because it was just the time of day. Because I'm like, I come to this market all the time. So I went to go ask one of the cashiers that was on register, like, hey, do you guys got any more of this beach juice? I come here all the time, try to get it. Do you guys have any more? Like maybe in the back somewhere. I think it might have been like because it was two different versions. It was one that came sparkling, and then it was just like a still one. I always gravitate towards sparkling cocktails, so I wanted the beach juice rosé with bubbles. That's the one I wanted. So I was asking the one guy and he didn't know. So I guess he asked like his higher up and he's like, hey, Chris, come here. She has a question. So he comes over and he's like, hey, what's the question? So I'm talking to him about this beach juice. Do you guys have it? And then we just start talking about it in general. And he's like, oh, yeah, see, people kind of get that from time to time. Like, is it good? Like, how do you drink it? Do you chill it? So we were just literally just sparking this conversation about beach juice. And as he goes to ring me out, I'm just like, hey, could you order some? He's like, yeah, I'll make sure I'll order some next time, I'm stocking the store. And as he's ringing me out, I was just like, what's happening here? Like, whatever this vibe is, I'm just feeling this vibe. But I just kind of like, brushed it off. Like, okay, this was just a cute guy ringing me out. Went on about my day, didn't think any more about it. But then as I'm like, man, did I like this guy? Like, what was happening here? Because I rarely like people that I see in person, or I don't come across anybody that I see in person that I like. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to this store. Then I was getting like really obsessive and calculated about it. Like I was getting real Virgo about it because I'm like, okay, this was the time he was there, so I need to go back at this time, like this time frame. This is when I need to go back, and I need to go back on this day. Like, I don't know his work schedule. It was a Tuesday. So I'm like, okay, I need to go back on a Tuesday around 1 o'clock to see if I was just hallucinating. Like, was this guy really cute? Like, what's happening? So I went back the following week and I'm like, oh my God, he is cute. I am attracted to him. So I'm thinking, like, how do I go about this? Like, is this just a crush? Do I want to ask him out? Like, I'm not above asking guys out because I feel like men could just be either clueless if you are attracted to them. So I was not above asking this man out, but I just got so nervous. Like it was literally like a middle school crush. I just could not think of how to say anything. Like, how do I approach it? Do I ask him, do you have a girlfriend? Do I just say, hey, here's my number? Like, how do I go about doing this? And it just continued. I just let our conversations just be conversations. And we really would be talking like you would think like we knew each other because like every time we come into the grocery store, it's just like, hey, like, how's your day going? It would just be continued conversations. Like last time we talked about this, it's like, oh, well, did you do that? Because last time, blah, blah, blah. So it was just like continue conversations a very comfortable feeling with this guy, and I would never say anything. I would never ask him if he had a girlfriend, never ask him out, just have these conversations, and then kick myself in the car like, oh my God, like, why am I not saying anything? Like, what is wrong with me? And I would talk to my sister about it, like, what should I do? And my sisters very well know that I've been super single for a very long time. So she's just like, well, go ahead, like, ask him out. Like, what are you doing? So, and this was August, mind you, it's November, and it's still been going on. I go in maybe once, twice a week, have these conversations with my man that's not my man, and nothing happened. So it was a point where I was just like, okay, Amber, stop obsessing about this. You're either going to make a move or move on. Like, figure it out. So it was the day that I was going to do it. And when I tell you, just like the longest line in America, I'm just like, why is everybody at this beer and wine section now? It's just like, I can't bag nobody with a line behind me. So I'm just like, okay, letting people go in front of me. Mind you, I don't even be needing alcohol. I just literally would just go so I could buy something so I could have a 2-minute conversation with this man. Like, liquor is a lot cheaper at Wine and Spirits. Like, I could go there. I can go anywhere. But I chose to go here, fake like I don't know what I want. So, oh yeah, sure, I need your help. Like, just so we could have these conversations. I was very calculated. So this was the time I'm like, all right, Amber, you got to do it. The lines were just getting longer and longer. And then I called my sister. I'm like, look, I'm in here freaking out. Like, what do I do? And she's like, look, just, you got to do it. Breathe. Just stay in the line. So I'm like, okay. So it finally came to a point where it was nobody behind me, like nobody lurking around the show. So I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity. I'm next. And don't you know, like, his coworker comes from break from somewhere. Like, I can help you. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
go away.
Yes. I'm like, why is the universe against me? So I was just like, you know what? I can't not go. So as he was ringing me up, the wine that I did get, I thought it was a lot cheaper. So I was like, oh, no, take that off. And then I'm going to go look for something else. So he took it off and I'm back on the shelves, fake browsing, trying to get something. And then my crush comes off like, hey, do you need some help? And I'm like, I sure do need some help. So we're talking like we usually always do. And I think I was asking him along the lines of like, can you give me some recommendations? It's kind of like the beach juice that I like anything like that in the store. And he was, picking up stuff and maybe try this, try that. And then I was asking him like, do you usually drink wine? Like, what's your preference? Like, can you recommend anything? And he was just like, oh no. I usually drink whiskey. I only drink wine if my girl brings it. And I was like, record scratch, like heart shatters. And I'm like, dang, of course he has a girlfriend. So, the conversation in my head, I'm internally screaming, but we are, just continuing the conversation. And then, he goes, I'm Chris. If you need anything else, I'm like, well, duh, I know your name. I can see it on your name tag. But I'm just like, oh, thank you. And, he goes away and I'm just like, well, I don't need nothing now. So I just walked out the store. And that was like, I want to say towards the end of October. He hit me with a G word. But I still go into the market and we still busted up like old friends. And literally, I don't think I'm hallucinating when this man literally perks up when I come into the store. So I don't know what's really happening. The crush obviously is still ongoing. I know he has a girlfriend and I'm trying to slowly wean myself off, but it's just hard because I just feel like I never like anybody. It's just such a comfortable conversation and just like this evolution of this fake relationship that's not really there. But I've tried dating apps and I just feel like I feel like I just like the idea of meeting somebody in person and just having that organic connection versus trying to like force something through the dating apps. So I don't know. That's where I am now. I'm just it's hard because I see him. I was like, dang, why do you gotta have a girlfriend? But then if you do break up with this girlfriend in the near future, I don't want to be a rebound. It's just I just don't know what to do. But it's just I'm just in limbo with this crush situation.
Visit like you said, you have like good conversations. So does that kind of outweigh maybe the physical attraction to him too, or is it kind of even?
I think so because I feel like physically, I don't even think that he's necessarily the guy I thought I would go for.
Mm.
But it was just that initial attraction. I don't know what it was. It just must be an aura thing. I'm really not sure. But it is just like the comfort of the conversation. It just seems so natural. Like you really would think an eavesdropper just passing by, you would think like, oh, they know each other. Like they probably went to school together, or maybe he's an old coworker. It's just like I just met this man in August. And mind you, he doesn't even know my name. I never told him my name. He could look at my ID because they scan the IDs at the section, but I never officially said, "Hey, I'm Amber." It's just like every time we come in, it's just, "Hey, like what's up?" Like it's nothing. So I think it was just like an organic thing for me. It's just like it wasn't a forced thing. I wasn't looking for it. It just kind of like popped up, just crush.
Are you someone who maybe it's like you did grow up watching the rom-com, so a meet cute is in the back of your head a little better than a dating app swiping right and finding someone?
I did. I am very much a romantic. I did grow up on all the rom-coms thinking like that's how life's supposed to be, that, you need that great love story. And even before I was about to ask, if he had a girlfriend or whatever, I don't know what made me look up Ellen Pompeo. And I don't know why I was like, is she still married to that guy? I don't know why it made me think of, she popped up in my head. But I went to her IMDb page and I was like, oh yeah, okay, she's still married to him. And then like on his page, like the trivia or whatever, it was like he met her in a grocery store. So I was like, oh my God, this is a sign. This is my husband. I met him in a grocery store. Like, I gotta ask this man out. So I feel like I very much grew up thinking like, in the rom-com world, like, these are signs. I started listening to like all these songs that I was listening to recently were just saying like, make a move, he don't know your name. I was like, oh my God, like the universe is literally telling me to attach this. And I think you tweeted something about it was something about like somebody had mentioned about crushes, and either you like retweeted like something about like never like, or like something about
shooting your shot.
Yeah, it was something like that, like never shoot your shot with a crush. I was like, oh my God, this is something I shouldn't. So I was getting all these conflicting things coming in, but I do feel like the rom-coms, the Disney fairy tales definitely had an impression on how I feel about love and how I feel like, your love life should be like.
I definitely feel that. I mean, if you're a millennial, you definitely got the best of the best when it came to rom-coms in the early 2000s with J-Lo and Blondie, that I can't remember her name.
Kate Hudson.
Yes, I was like, How to Lose a Guy, Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, and even the Disney, we had the Disney Renaissance as well in our childhood. Ushering in the best of the fairy tales.
Yes.
So it's hard to shake that. But I did meet my guy online. We actually only lived a mile apart.
Wow.
But yeah, we met online. That was really, thankfully we didn't live too far because we were in LA at the time. And that, in LA, if you live too far, the love's not going to last. No one's driving on the 405 for you. If they do, that's real love. So when you heard he had a girlfriend, did you immediately like stop going as much to the store? Like, did the wine consumption or wine buying, which is stop a little?
Oh no, I it didn't stop. Like I was just like, you know what? I just need to see him for 5 minutes. Like, 'cause I don't know what it was. Like I tried to wean it away or go at a different time. So I'm like, okay. And then I figured out like what time he gets off. Like so I was just like, okay, if I go around this time, like it's a good chance that I won't see him. Or if I go this day, it's like it's a day I won't see him. Or I could just not buy wine. But I'm just like, no, if he's there, like, because usually, like, I go in this one entrance, and if he's there, it's like, it's literally like the first thing you would see coming into the grocery store. So
Mhm.
he would be on register. He would say hi to me. So it's like, okay, he knows I'm here. Like, gotta say hi, see, see what's up with my man. It's not my man. But no, I don't. Like, I need I think that would help the crush go away maybe sooner. But no, I still go. Still buy at least a bottle just so we can have a conversation or sit there and ask stupid questions that I know the answers to, but just so I can have the conversation with them. So it hasn't stopped me going to the store. I mean,
Well,
maybe I feel like it's a little safer now that I know, like, okay, now it can't go anywhere. So now I feel a lot more relaxed talking to him. And it's like he never knew that I had this crush because I never had the opportunity to ask him if he had a girlfriend. So maybe he just think I'm just the nice customer girl that comes in and gets wine.
that's very true. And like you said, you don't know how long they've been together either.
Hmm.
Does he have a ring on? We don't know.
He does not. And my
No.
sister was like, "Look, you're single until you're married." And I'm like, "Look, I'm not. I'm not about no karma coming back to me, breaking up in a relationship. So if you are happy, then there's nothing I can do about that. But yeah, I don't know any other dynamics. I don't know if this is uh, a long relationship. I don't know if this happened this year relationship. I don't know if this is we've been childhood sweethearts. Like I don't know anything about this. I don't know his last name. Um, I wish I did. I wish I could do some social media stalking, but
I was gonna
um
say, have you gone down that rabbit hole?
I really try to. Like cuz like sometimes on the receipts they'll have like
Oh yeah.
the clerk's name. And one of them had his name. So I'm like, okay, maybe. And I feel like he's like a manager. So like some of the supermarkets they'll have like the manager's pictures and stuff up.
Oh
So
yeah.
I walked around that market like, where is the manager pictures? Like, I need this last name. Didn't see it. Last name wasn't on the receipt. Maybe I could be like, call him like, hi, I can't, what's his last name? He's the one. Maybe I could try to figure out that way, but I tried. Literally, I Googled his name with the grocery store. Maybe something might pop up because I think that would also, I think, help or it might not. It might make the crush worse, or it could like make it less if I know like more personal information about him.
Mm.
That could be like, oh well, he smokes. It's like, no, automatically turned off. Or he does this. It's like, no. So I feel like knowing more information about him could, you know,
It could
make it go
heighten or
away.
lower.
Or I'm like, oh my god, he loves cats. Men never love cats, so it's like, oh my god, he's a cat lover. So it's just like, yeah, it could go both ways. But I think I do very much want. I need that social media handle. So
Do
it
you
could.
think are you playing the long game now with this crush? Like, could you because we see in so many TV shows the long game, be the friend. Because you never, like, I'm thinking of like The Office with Jim or Grand Crew. They have that thing with Faye and Anthony going on where they're just friends, but they definitely like each other. But so things like that.
I don't know. I mean, it kind of feels like the long game because of just how we are around each other. It's like, not that you need to mention your girlfriend in every given sentence,
Mhm.
but we were talking about Halloween. Like he asked me, I went into the store, I think Halloween day. Um, and he was asking me like, hey, are you doing anything for Halloween? And I was like, no, I'm pretty much staying in the house. And he was saying how he was going to go to a friend's house. He was going to dress as Batman. And like, why do I know all these personal stuff about you? Like, do you talk like this to all the customers? I don't know. But it's like, why do I know that you were going to dress as Batman and go see your friend's house for a Halloween party? So we were just kind of having that conversation. And then when I saw him probably later that week, I went back to the market And I asked him like, hey, how was the Halloween party? And he was like, oh no, I ended up staying in the house. I dressed up as a wolf, and I was just giving away trick or treats, to the kids. So could he have said, oh, me and my girlfriend stayed in, we did this? Maybe he could have said that. Maybe you don't need to mention your girlfriend in that sentence. But I'm just like, you don't mention her a lot. So it's just like, what's going on here? Like, we really just be having all these personal conversations. Like, one of the last times that we spoke, he told me he was sick and he didn't feel good and that he wanted to call out. And it's like, why are you telling me this? Like, it just seems like it's just such a, obviously, I don't know if it's just my presence to make people comfortable enough to tell me like this personal information, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like it is very much the long game. And I was asking my sister, like, how can I get his personal information? Like, what's a good way for me to be like, oh, let's be like social media friends? Like, how do I say that?
You could, you're a blogger.
Oh my gosh,
be
you
like,
said the same thing.
Yeah, be like, hey, I do this. Why don't you follow me? And,
Well, it's 2 for 2 because my sister said the same thing. She was like, be like, hey, look, here's my site. I'm always looking for feedback. Check it out. And I guess, that might be the move. That might be the move to.
Well, I hope it happens. You need that social media. I remember back during MySpace days, I saw a guy at a concert, and this was a big band at the time. I went through so many pages of the fans that like them on MySpace, and maybe 40 or some pages later, I found him.
Oh my God. See, that's something that I would do.
It was like a lot of work.
I would so do that if I had just a little bit more information. And I feel like I'm very good at finding stuff online. Like, I just need a little bit more information. Like, if I had a little bit more, I could probably find this man online. But now I'm just have to just do the direct approach. Like, look, follow me, break up with your girlfriend because I'm bored, and let's be friends.
Now, is he someone like, if the girlfriend you found out in a month or two was out of the picture, would you try again, or would it be too soon? Would you give him some time?
I mean, I don't know how people grieve relationships, because I think it does depend on like how deep it was, depending on like, oh, if this wasn't something, if it was like, oh, we were together for like 5 years, I feel like you're still going to be pretty much thinking about that person. It's not going to be that easy. Or for me, in the back of my mind, I would be like, if there were a chance you guys get back together, because that's how these relationships go. Stuff be on and off so much with like our age group. So we're just like, am I like a ploy to like get back at her? Like, am I just a pawn in y'all game? I don't know.
Is this an Issa Lawrence situation?
Exactly. Like, I don't know if this is just like, if this is a real breakup or are you really trying to move on? So I feel like I would date him, maybe just like for the fun of it, just to like go out on a date for once, not trying to put too much into it, just because like, okay, you just got out of something. Like, I don't think it would be or could be that serious for you. So if it was something like that, like, I would be open to seeing him, but just kind of keeping in mind that, okay, Amber, try not to get too attached, because this guy just got out of something.
I mean, I think in the long run, if he does break up with her, you're going to know. He's been telling you so much.
I know.
You might be one of the first to know about the breakup if it happens.
It might have happened that morning, and he just needs to vent to me, like me, his supermarket bestie. That's how I feel like. I feel like I'm his supermarket bestie. I could be the best thing when I show up in the market, like, oh my God, my bestie's back. Like, what are we going to talk about today? Because I genuinely be happy to see him. And it's just like, this is a guy that is like, maybe just because it's nobody else on my roster, so it's like all my attention is on this. So it's just like, I need to get back to the, like, when can I get back to the market? Like, dang, I don't need wine, but maybe I just get like a lime reader or something. Like, I don't need to get like bottles. Like, maybe I can just get something like small. And the thing is, the beer and wine sections aren't even that big. So it's just like, I can't have a question every time I come in here. It's just like, come on, you haven't figured it out yet. So it's like, what's a new thing that I can ask him to like have him to myself for a little bit? Like, I don't know.
Well, I have a good feeling. I think if somebody's happy to see you, that's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, not all supermarket workers are joyful, even if they see you a lot.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, I got my sister into the ploy because, again, this is like a market that's kind of close enough to our house, to where we both are. So she went in there one time and I'm like, don't talk to him. It's like, if one day down the line we end up being together and I gotta introduce him to you, it's gonna be like, wait, isn't that the girl that people like? Don't make it weird. So she was just like, oh yeah, I went in there and we were talking. I'm like, don't speak to him. Like, keep it cool. But even she saw him, she was like, okay, he's kind of cute. So I'm just like, please don't make it weird. But she's like on the missions too. She'll be like, did she go to the market today? Or if she go that day, she's like, I saw him, he's working today. And I'm like, God damn it, do I gotta go to the market today? Like, do I need something? But yeah, it's bad because it's still ongoing and it hasn't gone away. And I just really be calculating when the next time I can go to the market. I think I'm gonna go tomorrow, actually.
Well, I usually ask, you know, if you got together, how do you think it would pan out? But I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to ask it.
Oh man,
we'll just ask for an update later. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, we'll have an update. I'll add an update at the end. I'll ask.
Yes.
So now it's time to talk more about what you have going on, and we're going to kick that off with your site, Glambergirlblog.
Yes.
such a good thing. It's been going strong for like well over a decade, which I know from experience can be so hard day in and day out. Like, what keeps you motivated to keep going?
I mean, I just really love television and film. I really do. I love talking about it. I love talking with other people about it. I love writing about it. And it literally has just been, I feel like, ingrained for me from childhood. Like, I always was the person that I gotta go in the house because my show was on. Like, if I'm outside playing, it's like, oh, 8 o'clock, oh, the grass is about to come on. Sorry, I'll be back out at 8:30. Like, my show's on, I need to see it. I remember my parents telling me to like back up from the TV because I would sit so close to it. Like, I just love TV and film so much. And then in high school, I found out, like, you know, I feel like the term journalist and journalism, that's when I found that term. And it was like, oh, that's what that person is, like, to get to write and report about, you know, entertainment news and stuff like that. That's a journalist. So I was like, okay, I want to be that. So ever since then, I just kind of curated, you know, myself and my, you know, education towards being in media. And starting my website, you know, all those years ago was because I couldn't get any writing jobs. I tried, back in the day, like, my dream was to work for E. Like, everybody knew, like, that was like the dream job for me, to be a journalist working for E. And I applied to them. Like, I was like, if I got to move to California for this internship, then, you know, I'll do it. And all the places were like, you need experience. It's like, where's your writing samples? Where's your writing samples? And I'm like, well, I need the job first to get the samples. Like, it's just like, which comes first? So I started my site as a way to generate my own writing samples. I'm like, nobody won't give me a job. So if they ask for samples, here's this whole site full of them. So that's kind of how it started. And then I just really enjoyed having my own voice and being able to write about what I wanted to write about, not being told what I need to write about, because that always is so hard for me. If somebody tells me, like, okay, this is your assignment, it will take me the longest time to do it. But if it's something that I genuinely like, am passionate about, have seen, obsessed about, like, the words would just spill out. So I just loved having my own voice. And then, you know, I just took it a step further and, you know, just started doing interviews. I'm like, I need to get myself on camera. Started, you know, doing like interview series, just interviewing people in Philly, where I'm from. And then I started being able to get opportunities to do celebrity interviews. So it really is just the hustle. I think because I love it so much, that's what keeps me going. because there are times, especially in 2020, I feel like we were all
Yeah.
burnt out and the inspiration just was not there. And it was kind of like forcing myself to like keep this site up and like, and there's been plenty of times I'm like, okay, this is not going exactly where I wanted to, not fast enough. Like, should I figure something else out to do? But I genuinely don't know what else to do because is what I'm good at. Is what I'm good at. I've literally been doing it all my life. And yeah, it's just like I just keep going because I just feel like I'm not where I want to be yet. So I gotta keep going until I meet that ultimate goal.
And you mentioned like when you have to write for someone else, which I know can be such a pain. And I think it's great when you get a byline here and there, and that's all cool and like fun. But there's something about creating your own thing that to me just makes it feel more, well, me feel more complete. So, what would you say has been like the most rewarding part about like carving out your own path?
I mean, I I mean, as much as I hate the journey, I would say the journey because I'll look back at posts that I wrote in 2011 when I started, and it's just like, what is this? Like, why did I write this? Why did I write it this way? And then seeing how I write now and how I approach my work, I just feel like I can see the growth. And I feel like it's just rewarding because it's like I did this myself
Mhm.
and I didn't have a lot of help doing it. Like a lot of the stuff that I've done and like all the like interview opportunities I've been able to get, events I've been able to get into, I didn't have anybody backing me. I didn't have anybody vouching for me. And I feel like if I did have that, like I feel like I could be a lot more further in my career right now. But I feel like all the opportunities that I had is because I chased them for myself. And all the no's I got might, put me down for a day or two, but I sleep it off and then get back at it. So I feel like chasing my own opportunities and just looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this interview because I reached out on a whim and then I got a yes. So I just feel like seeing all the stuff that I got for myself makes me very proud of my site.
And you said that your dream was like the E channel.
Yes.
Okay. Why was it that? Because like for me, it was watching MTV, watching Carson Daly and Ananda Lewis. That's
Hmm.
what I wanted. I was like, when they had the "Want to Be a VJ" contest, I
Yeah.
was like 12, so I couldn't go, and I didn't live in New York, so there was like a lot of blockers. But I was like, that's my dream. When I turn 18, I'm going to New York and I'm going to be a VJ. Sadly, MTV started to die, so I couldn't be a
Yeah.
VJ. So what about like the E channel was it for you?
I mean, I just felt that was the entertainment site. Like I felt like that was the top tier of being a journalist, being able to be on those red carpets and doing all those specials, looking at Juliana Rancic. It was just like she was like that, top journalist for them at the time. And it was just like she's get to wear all these glamorous, expensive dresses, and she interviewing all these A-list celebrities, and it's just like that's what I want. Like I want that glamour side of Hollywood, and I just felt like E for me was just that top tier example at the moment. Like even like MTV, I feel like it definitely sizzled down. Like it's like even like maybe just because a lot of people have moved to the digital space, it's just like you don't see that that level of journalism that I've saw like growing up. Like it's so different now, and it seems
Mm-hmm.
like anybody can just hop on the mic and not necessarily even have the training or went to school for it. And I feel like you definitely don't in this industry. Um, but I see more and more every day. It's just kind of like anybody with a personality that somebody kind of likes, they throw a mic in her hand and call them a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird now, but I just feel like that's for me looking at E, I just feel like that was the top tier was that's what I wanted for myself back then.
I mean, yeah, I mentioned the red carpets. That was always my favorite part of E. I was like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
time, baby. Award season.
Exactly.
So, how was the transition for you when you went from writing to podcasting when you kicked off So I Was Watching?
So I wanted to do something different for my blog anniversary. Like every year, I try to just take new pictures for like to celebrate my blog. But I was going into a decade of blogging, so I wanted to do something different. And I feel like the name kind of just came from me talking about something that I was watching.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, maybe I could do a podcast. But I'm like, how can I make this different? Because I feel like every time I watch something, I want to talk about it. That's why I love Twitter so much, because I feel like it does give that space to go back and forth and talk about a TV show or a movie or even like award shows. It's like we have that ability to have that conversation with people all over the world. And I've met and had some great conversations with people just from clicking on a hashtag and commenting on a show that they would just watch. And I just watched it too. And now I need nobody else I know watched it. So I'm going online and here we are having this back and forth conversation about this movie or a show that we saw. So I was like, okay, how can I do this? And at first I wanted it to be like a real podcast, but it was a lot harder than I thought. And I planned a lot. Like I launched it in April for the blog's anniversary of 2021. But I was like planning it since January. And I started recording episodes in like February because I knew like, okay, I need time to edit. I need to reach out to people to do interviews because I wanted to talk about the shows that I was watching, but also bring a conversation element to it. So it was like one of the first shows I did was incorporating Bridgerton and how virginity is shown on screen, because a lot of times it's just like is this magical moment for the girl, and I'm like, that just was not my reality at all.
No.
And I feel like that's not a reality for a lot of women, that the way that it is depicted on TV and on movies is just not it. So we talked about that show. I did that with my sisters. We talked about the show, but we also talked about, just the concept of virginity, talking about our first times. And I just feel like that's what each episode would incorporate. We would talk about these shows, dissect them, but then also talk about, the real themes within them. And it started okay for the first season, and then it kind of fizzled out because, the planning didn't go as much as I wanted. But then bringing it back now, it was because I watched a recent show. I watched Tell Me Lies on Hulu, and I'm just like, you know what? The 200 something characters on Twitter is just not going to give me enough space to talk about this. So I'm like, I think I need to get back on the mic and I need to bring the podcast back. And right now it's going strong. I plan on going through the end of January of next year. And we'll see how the feedback is and see how the plays are, if I'll come back for season 3. But right now, I just feel like I just needed that additional space to talk about these shows and talk about these films that I'm watching.
And you watch like a myriad of things, and you said you give feedback on like the social themes like virginity, which Big Mouth did a really good episode on that. Are you planning on diving into the mindfuck that is the last kind of final seasons of Atlanta on the show?
Well, see, the things, I never got into Atlanta.
Oh,
and the thing about me, I always catch on to shows late. It's been shows that it could be off for years and then I get into it. Like that's how it was for Once Upon a Time. And I don't know how I allowed myself to not watch Once Upon a Time, because I love Disney. So I don't know how I allowed that show to run for as long as it did, come off for like 10 years, and then watch it, because I knew no spoilers going into it. Same thing with Parks and Rec. Like I did not watch it at all when it was on, and then binged it. So Atlanta could be one of those. That could be one of those shows. I know that they just had the series finale. That could be one of those shows that now that it's off, I can binge it from top to bottom, and I could be into it now.
I'm gonna tell you right now, season 3 is. I just finished that one. I'm gonna start 4 soon, but you cannot binge 3. It is every episode. It just you love to talk about it. You're gonna want to just like sit and digest it for a
Oh my
couple days
God.
and be like, "What the hell did I just watch?" Donald Glover and his partner. What are you guys doing over there? It's wild. Because my old roommate already has finished, and I'm like
Hmm.
texting her all like a year or so later, like, oh my god, what is going on? And she has
See,
to like.
that's me.
Because sometimes, I mean, I think it was 2020 kind of knocked me off of my shows. I was just like, I can't watch anything. I can't digest anything. I'm not in the right headspace. I kind of just watched RuPaul's Drag Race all over again and anything of that came that was new because it was kind of mindless, you know?
Yes, that's what I do sometimes too. Like I do watch, and that's why I feel like I watch the same things over and over again because it's like sometimes you do have to be in the mood to take in new content. And I'm just like, I'm not into this right now. Like even like the Handmaid's Tale, I have not gotten into that yet because I'm just like, I don't think I feel like something that heavy right now. Like I don't think I want to. My mind space isn't there yet, so I don't think I want to start that yet.
I'm like 2 or 3 seasons behind on that one. It started off good, and then I think, again, 2020 might have just hit me off of it. I mean, I loved Modern Family, and the series finale was early in the pandemic, and I still have not watched it because I was like, it's too emotional in the real world to
No.
say goodbye to my fictional family
Yes,
one
I
day.
can understand it.
So, what are some shows you said if a season 3 happens? What are some shows that you hope to cover? Maybe like a show you've been thinking about watching, other than Atlanta, maybe.
Yes, other than Atlanta. I don't know because there are a few shows that are on my list now that I'll be covering for the season. Um, but it's a lot of good stuff coming out next year that I feel like I want to talk about. The Crowded Room. It didn't come out yet. It's gonna be on Apple TV Plus. Um, and Tom Holland stars in it. I think Amanda Seyfried's in it. It's like a good stat cast, and that's supposed to be. I think like Tom Holland's character is like. I think they said he was like a serial killer with like mental health issues,
Oh.
like something along. I know it's like his character has mental health issues, and I know people was like dragging him for how he looked online, but it's like, duh, he's a character. Like he's not gonna look like himself. But I very much would be interested in seeing that show and talking about it and hopefully, having like some type of mental health expert on that I could like talk to and hopefully they've seen the show too. We can talk about it. But I definitely feel like The Crowded Room is a show that I'm excited to see. And Severance season 2 is coming on Apple. I don't know how I can incorporate that about like, the social themes, but I'm gonna have to play around with that because I really enjoyed that first season. So I am very anxious to see a season 2 of that. I'm pretty sure that will come out next year. Um, Other TV shows in regards to, I mean, films. Even though I don't know how I'm gonna work this too, I really am excited to see the Barbie movie. Um,
The what one?
the Barbie live action
Oh,
movie.
yeah, that one. Oh,
I am very excited about that.
I know. I keep I'm like, if we don't see the Fashion Avenue clothes in this movie, I'm
Yes.
gonna flip out because,
Yes.
oh God, I am like, I dream about like wearing those Fashion Avenue clothes to this
And
day.
it's crazy. Like anytime that's definitely like nostalgia overload. Anytime I see like, pictures of that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm pretty sure my Barbie had that outfit. Like I don't know
Hmm.
where it is right now, but I'm pretty sure I had that. Like Barbie, I don't know why I love this so much because I love playing with Barbies. I was probably like the only one of my sisters that played with Polly Pockets, but I I just feel like it's just that nostalgia that I hope portrays well on screen. So, or maybe that could be an aspect of talking about nostalgia and how films can bring that up. So those are the ones on the top of my head right now that I can think of that will probably show up in season 3.
And it's very clear that you love TV, movie, all things pop culture. But when you boil it down, what's like the thing you love most about pop culture?
I think maybe how you can connect with people through it. Um, because it could be somebody that you probably would never really talk to, or probably not think you have anything in common, but it could be because of that one show, it could start something. So
Mhm.
I think it just starts relationships. It keeps conversations going because we can have real conversations about these shows and say, what we would do in those situations, what we hated about this. And I think it's really just about that connection, like, because you really can bond with people. You can see like stuff like fandom culture and see how many people have connected through like Marvel films or stuff like Twilight or Harry Potter. It's just like you can build relationships, substantial relationships and friendships based on your love of this, film or show or actor. So I think it's really about building those connections with people, and you can do it through film and TV.
Good answer. That is my answer too. What I love about I love the fandom. I love, even if I don't love something, I love how excited like a Harry Potter movie will make a bunch of like 30 somethings, or
Yeah.
seeing like a Marvel movie on opening weekend and hearing the cheers, or like at a concert when everyone sings along to the
Yes,
what. It's a communal thing, and
it
it's like
really is.
we just all are happy about this silly little TV show or movie. But on that note, I'm going to do a speed round about pop culture
Oh
and yourself.
man.
So, what was your first pop culture obsession?
The first thing that's really coming to mind where I can feel like was like a big thing was probably B2K for me. And I would say that because I was the person who had wall to wall posters in my room. Like that's when I feel like fandom. Like
Hmm.
I would get Word Up magazines, I would get anything I could get of them. And literally I shared her with my sister, sorry, you gotta be a B2K fan too, because literally plastered, not you cannot see the paint because every inch of that room was covered with posters. So I feel like that might have been the first like major obsessed thing for me.
What's your current pop culture obsession?
Oh man, what am I currently obsessed with? And that's funny because they go in waves. I usually will go from like actor to actor, and if I'm obsessed with an actor, I would like literally watch everything that they ever did in life. Like I will be like, I need to see interviews, I need to see their high school auditions. What am I obsessed with? That is hard because I don't really have one right now. I think before it was probably like a Tom Holland obsession. I don't know why, but
That lip sync battle.
it might have been a lip sync. I just was like, I feel like I was watching a lot of projects that I probably necessarily wouldn't have, but I did because of him, because I loved Cherry. The movie he did for Apple.
Mm.
It's so, so good. Like he really did a good job in that. So I think that might have been my latest one because I was combing through all his interviews and I'm like, you know what, Zendaya, I get it. I am charmed by this man as well. Like
If,
I get what's happening here.
if they don't wind up the Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. of their generation, I will be
Listen,
highly upset.
I am way okay, it might be them. I am way too obsessed with their relationship. It's just like it's ridiculous. I don't know what it is about them because I did not see the chemistry between MJ and Peter Parker with them two. But then seeing them, Zendaya and Tom in interviews, I'm like, oh, they're so cute together. Like, I think the day he proposes to her is gonna be the happiest day of my life. Like, I'm gonna be like,
It'll
oh
be your
my God.
Facebook memory, like the moments,
I
milestones.
am going to be so excited for them. I'm just like, look, Tom, do not break this girl's heart because we're gonna come for you. So I feel like it might be them. That might be my latest Tom Daya. It might be my latest pop culture obsession.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so cute. They're so
They
cute
are
together.
really
Yeah,
cute.
I hope, I pray, that they are the Freddie Prinze and Sarah Michelle Gellar of this generation. And I'm just going to put that
Yeah.
out there so it's like it gets into the world and it
From your
happens.
mouth to the universe, like let it be out there.
Fingers crossed. And when you're growing up and you're watching E and all these like entertainment shows, who was like a journalist or reporter that you kind of saw, even today,
Hmm.
still, that you kind of take inspiration from?
Well, I really did love, or still do love, Josh Horowitz. And when that was like a celebrity sighting for me because I used to intern and work for Viacom, and one of my internships, and that was like another thing for me too. Like I did want to work for MTV News. Like I would go into that building every day and be like, oh my God, I gotta get on that news floor. I really gotta get on that news floor. And one of my friends, she ended up working on at MTV News intern. And so I would go up and visit her and just be like, oh my God, like I want to be on the source so bad. Like I need to be up here. And I would always see Josh. And I'm like, I gotta get that meeting with him. I just need to like pick his brain. Ask him about how he got started in his career. And, through my coordinator, she was able to facilitate that and I was able to sit and talk with him. But I just feel like I love his interviews because they are so comfortable. Like you would think that he knows these celebrities for years. Like he's able to get like good sound bites. They, are forthcoming with information. So I feel like that is the type of journalist I aim to be. Like I want to provide a comforting space with whoever I'm talking to and make it seem like, it's just two old friends talking. So I feel like, recent interviewers now, I feel like Josh Horowitz is the one that I kind of always look at his interviews and see how he goes about asking people questions. And I watch a lot of interviews in general, just to see like, the flow of it all. And I'm like, oh my God, like some interviews I can't get through because I think it's the person. Like either they aren't asking good questions or you could tell that the talent is uncomfortable. And I do feel like it is an art to an interview. So I think Josh, for me, has it. And I often look at his stuff as like, inspiration for how I would want to be on camera.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever heard of Paley Fest in
Yes.
LA? Oh, yeah. There's been only one or two interviewers that have done a good job because you could tell there were some who are just like kind of influencery and they want to be the star of it, and I'm just like, God, please let this in. Like I went to one, it wasn't Paley Fest, it was for LA Times, and it was like dysfunctional family. So they had Katie Sagal from Sons of Anarchy, they had a couple people from Shameless at the time, and Katie Sagal just took over the interview because she just like she did not like the lady doing the interview. She turned her back to her and kind of was like moderating, and I was like,
and that's the worst.
I was like, oh, this is awkward.
Yeah.
So if you get your dream job, you're on a red carpet, who's your like dream celebrity interview?
Oh man, I think it's Robert Pattinson because I've seen a lot of his interviews. Of course, I'm a Twilight fan. And he is hilarious to me. So I think being able to sit across from him, I'm gonna try not to like fan out, but I think he would be a great person that I would want to talk to. And I feel like Aubrey Plaza, I know she has her whole character when she does interviews. But I want to break that because I feel like we got a similar vibe to me, I think. And I can go toe to toe with her in an interview. So I think interviewing her will be fun.
And you mentioned Twitter and that interaction you can have with other fans. What show, celebrity, or movie do you think has the most active fans, the best fans on Twitter to kind of get and engage with?
I mean, I think because Black Twitter takes over.
Oh yeah,
on certain things.
People not tuned into Black Twitter are missing out.
Funny. It's so funny. I think it just kind of is. It's an individual. It's a case by case because it depends on what I'm watching and it depends on like who's tweeting. Because I'll go through, like just yesterday, I was watching Chucky. And I'll go through that hashtag and kind of respond to whoever's saying something that, oh my God, I was thinking this too. Or because a lot of times it'll be just like the sponsored page tweeting. So you really have to go through like the latest to kind of see like, okay, I want to talk to real people. I don't want to talk to the person running the official account. But I mean, I think it depends on what's happening, especially like award shows, because everybody be kind of like tweeting during award shows. And that's the thing. A lot of people that I be interacting with they're not even people that I follow. It's just really through the hashtag that I be having these conversations with people. So it's not even a particular thing or film. I think it just depends on who's tapped into the conversation and then how I interact that way.
Like Black Twitter.
Yes.
I'm sad I don't have cable to watch Abbott Elementary the night it airs, because Black Twitter is great on a Wednesday night. I have to wait and look at the hashtag on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hope they respond to me now. I know it's been 24 hours.
I mean, I feel like people still do respond, because because I feel like this tweet that I posted about Tell Me Lies is getting traction now. So I feel like people must be watching it now, because I tweeted that like a month or so ago, but people are like interacting with it. So I'm like, oh, y'all must just now be watching it. So yes, let's talk about it, because the shit was crazy. So I think it just depends on who is watching what at the moment, and then how people interact. So it's never too late. It's never too late.
And lastly, what's your like one pop culture ride or die that no matter what, cancel culture be damned, you're gonna never not watch it, listen to it, love it?
I mean, I think the easiest and Twilight. I love Twilight so much. Like, and it's a ridiculous plot. A lot of stuff doesn't make sense, but I love it so much. I will always talk about Twilight. You cannot tell me anything bad about Twilight. I'm never going to cancel it. Like, Stephanie Myers could come out and say the most horrendous things, and I'm like, well, you know, she's not really Edward and she's not really Bella, so I'm going to just have to ignore what she said. But I do. I love Twilight so much. Whenever it's on, I'm going to watch it. I have all the DVDs, but I'm always going to watch it if it's on TV. I'll go back. I always listen to the music. Like, their soundtracks are just amazing. So I literally have Twilight playlists on my phone, and any given Sunday, you can catch me listening to those songs. I love this so much. So Twilight for me is the ultimate like pop culture thing for me.
Well, twi hard for life.
For life. For 1,000 years.
It is I have never sat through a whole movie, but it is hilarious. I love the scenes of just grass. I love when they just shoot. I love the colorization of it. How it's kind of, they're in like a fish tank green. I like Jasper and his crazy eyes. Like, I know it's a pop culture thing where I know bits and pieces, but I've yet to sit down and enjoy it though.
Girl, get into it. It's on Showtime right now.
The baby, that creepy baby they have, that's a doll that isn't a meme.
Crushgasm.
What is its name?
Well, the first prototype of it was like weird. So they would start calling it Crushgasm, because it's like Renesmee, but like Chucky. So it's like, it was like a weird prototype. Like, I don't know what that was. I'm glad it didn't make the final cut. But even Renesmee in general, like, the CGI is terrible. It's absolutely horrible. But I don't care. Like, that's her baby.
That's part of I feel like the charm of it. Exactly. Of why people are so ride or die with Twilight. So can you tell people where they can find you, the site, and the podcast online?
Yes. So I am on Glambergirlblog on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Even though I hate TikTok, I'm on TikTok. The podcast, So I Was Watching, is on Twitter, and So I Was Watching, and on Tumblr. I still love Tumblr. On So I Was Watching Pod on Tumblr. And the website is Glambergirlblog.com.
I know everyone's talking about, like, I'm leaving Twitter, I'm going back to Tumblr. I'm like, girl, I never left Tumblr.
I never left. Exactly.
I love it. Well, Amber, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your everyday crush and all this pop culture wonderness. And everyone, you can find all of Amber's information below. And until next time, as always, keep crushing it.